Bitcoin is over $68,000 again. The weekly candle has just closed, so I wanted to do a market update where we look at the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum, look at the charts, what they reveal potentially for the week ahead. So let's dive straight in. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Dirk. Please subscribe to my channel on YouTube down below and follow my page on Instagram so that you can get future updates. Also, just a quick heads up, there is probably about 3 weeks left to join my VIP membership. I'm closing the doors on April 8th. After that, I'm not going to accept new members because the bull market is progressing. The higher the prices go, the less chance there is for upside and the more risk there is for downside. So I'm drawing the line in the sand April 8th. If you want the details of what's included, it's risk-free for 60 days. I offer an unconditional money-back guarantee. The details are in the description down below. Go and check that out. Come and sign up. That's where you get access to me, the whole community, all my updates, ongoing trade ideas, market insights, and much, much more. So let's hop into the weekly chart over here for Bitcoin. And as you can see, we're here just over $68,000. Now, last week, we had this wick candle. You can see it went as high as $73,794 and it pulled back down, and it gave us actually a very small red candle close in the same way it kind of did over here, except with a wider body. And the question is, what is really happening here? Is this it? Do we go higher? Do we go lower? And that's what I want to break down for you over here, just on a technical perspective. So obviously the previous cycle highs, that is an important level over here. So that's at 69,000 to the 66,000. And we're kind of sitting in that range. And it is completely expected after such a massive run up that we have a bit of a pause and maybe even a bit of a pullback. That is completely normal within bullish trends. At this point in time, the bullish trend is completely in play. Okay, on the weekly time frame, on the 3-day, on the daily time frame, we are still completely bullish, and we are actually bullish for a lot longer. This market could technically drop like $10,000 or $15,000 and still be bullish. Okay, now I don't expect us to actually drop that much. 64,000 is kind of a level that I'm watching. We hit that last week, and we've bounced from that so far. So I would say at this point in time, above 64,000, and there's a chance we just continue to run it higher, and hopefully to 75,000 and beyond. Now below 64,000, and we could get a bit of a deeper pullback, maybe to 59 or 55,000. That is always the condition. It's always if then. So if we break below 64,000, then those downside targets become more likely. As long as we're above 64,000, well, then the target becomes potentially 75,000 and hopefully even higher into $85,000 or $90,000 over the next few weeks, leading into the Bitcoin halving, which is happening in a month from now, approximately on the 18th of April, somewhere between the 18th and the 20th of April, so next month. Now, things we can see from here that I want to point out where we are in the cycle. If we bring up the RSI, so the relative strength index, this can give some sort of helpful indication, because you can see, we can look at the previous cycle here, what happened when this peaked, and that is at a much higher level than where we even are. It went to 95, we're currently at 85 on the RSI. So at 95 on the RSI, let me bring up these drawings, you can see this arrow over here, that was equivalent with 95 on the RSI. And after that, the RSI started going lower, sure, but we still got a move from this point. So from 40 to 65,000. We went $25,000 higher after it hit 95 on the RSI. So we are at this point at 85 on the RSI. If something similar repeats to the previous cycle, and even if it doesn't go to 95, even if we consider the same point from here and we go up another $20,000, well, then we're still looking at 90,000. So look, nobody knows how high it's going to go for sure, but in terms of any sort of technical analysis we can do over here, this might be something that has some sort of reasonable merit. It's a trend line over the previous cycles here in confluence with the 50% Fibonacci extension, 51 to 61.8 of the whole bear market, and that leads us to somewhere between 90 and 105,000. And if I were to repeat this previous price action of the 2021 cycle and move it from here, assuming that this RSI kind of is going to play out in the same way, and we have 20 to 30,000 to the upside, well, that perfectly plays out with exactly what we're seeing here. So that's what I'm saying. As long as we're above 64,000, the trend is still bullish. We have the halving 1 month out, and if the ETF's inflows continue, and as long as that just continues to pump, we could see a $20,000 to $30,000 move to the upside within the next 1 to 2 months, in which case, exactly round about the halving or just after the halving, we see this massive pump into Bitcoin, into resistance here. I would guess this is still a resistance level. We'll see at the time, of course. But if this happens, then after that, I would expect altcoins to really, really get that inflow. And maybe we see 2 to 4 weeks or 5 weeks of massive, massive altcoin pumps. Maybe after the halving. Maybe Bitcoin pumps into the halving for the next month. We see us go to $90,000 to $100,000. And then after the halving, for the next 2 to 4 weeks or so, we see a massive, massive pump in altcoins. And then we'll have to see again at that point, maybe some sort of peak and correction in May, June, July. And then we'll see again after that. This, for now, the short-term focus. I do expect upside. Let's see what we get and if this scenario ends up playing out. Now, let's take a look at Ethereum, which is currently trading at $3,600. So we had a little bit of a pullback. That's completely fine. As you can see, we had the first red weekly close after many, many weeks of green. And again, that's completely healthy. It's completely to be expected. We basically went from $2,200 in ETH to $4,000 without any sort of break or pullback. And last week we had a bit of a break and a bit of a pullback. It is completely fine. It is completely normal. Okay, so what you can see over here on this chart is also we have breached the Fibonacci golden pocket and we got back above it. And when that happens, technically on a chart, it makes it more likely that the upside target now becomes the previous high. Okay, if it was going to reject, it would have likely rejected at the Fibonacci golden pocket to continue down. This just increases the chances, in my opinion, and based on my experience with charts, that this just goes higher. So I'm expecting still a target of all-time highs for ETH, which is $5,000. And what I've said before is I think somewhere, just as a pure guess, okay, time will tell, but somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000 for Ethereum this cycle seems like something reasonable. We'll obviously see closer to the time. But that is something where I would start to get cautious. If ETH gets to between 6,000 and 8,000, I would start looking for potential top signals, exhaustion signals, and obviously we'll see at the time and follow the charts. But what you can also see now, looking at the RSI here on weekly, this went to 92 in the previous cycle. And at this point in time, we are currently at 84. Now, at the point where Ethereum was at this peak for the first time in the RSI, at the beginning of January, it kind of lines up with it only being $2,000, and it had another $2,000 move, or you can say it doubled after that point. So even if this point is similar to this, and this is going to repeat in some way, well, then we could be looking at potentially a $2,000 move, or potentially a double from this point in time, assuming that the 2021 cycle is repeating. If that repeats, well then, looking at a double, what does that bring us? 7,200. And again, that is something that I just said. My guess is somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000, and that would line up with a similarity to the 2021 price action and the cycle over there. And you can see things went very, very quickly from that point in time. Once it hit 2,000 and it broke through there, basically in a period of a month, like 4 to 5 weeks, it went from 2,000 to 4,000. So that's what I'm saying. If Bitcoin continues this pump for the next month or so, and then money flows over into altcoins, we could really see Ethereum and other altcoins do a double, Ethereum a double, and maybe altcoins do much more because their market cap is so much smaller. So in a relatively short period of time, we could see altcoins do a 5 to 10x. And again, you can see what happened after that. So if we get something like that, that's why I'm making these videos, if this ends up playing out, then you're prepared for it. And I think at that point, it would be wise to consider taking profits, maybe even getting out the markets completely, obviously depending on what is happening at the charts at the time. And that is all something that, of course, I will share in real time in my VIP Discord on a daily basis. So if you're not yet a member and you want those updates and you want to stay in the know as things happen in real time, come and join me in VIP. The link is in the description down below. There's another 3 weeks left before I close the doors. Come and join. There's a 60-day money-back guarantee, so no risk to you. But if you want those daily updates and my insights on what is happening and when I think the market is peaking and when I'm getting out, all of that is in VIP.